Hey everybody, happy Friday. It is that time again. Hopefully you're all getting settled in right now with a nice, hot cup of coffee because we are going to be doing some modeling today. So let's do a quick check-in, make sure I've got my co-host with me before we get too far into things. Donovan, are you there?
I'm here.
Donovan's here. All right. So Donovan, you are a coffee drinker, right?
I am not a coffee
You're not a
drinker.
coffee drinker. I forgot. We talked about
I'm
this
not a
last time.
coffee.
Yeah. But you do go out
Yeah.
to Sidewalk Cafe. You go out to dinner, right? Sidewalk cafes. So you
Oh
know what
yeah.
we're, yeah, you get what
Don't
we're
get me
putting down
wrong.
here.
Like I love the ambience and the smell sometimes of coffee shops, but I myself am not a coffee drinker.
Yeah, that's okay. You got that natural energy. I need it. I need that I need that pick me up to keep me going. I burn off too much energy and just naturally, so I need that sort of rebalance. Um, Got my water with me today. Got my co-host with me today. So who's with us today? Any shout outs or any comments coming in before I kind of go into a little detail about what we're trying to accomplish today?
Yep. Well, we got people checking in from England, from West Africa in Senegal. We've got the Devon, UK. We got New York, Saudi, Ecuador.
Wow. People from LinkedIn, I assume. We got YouTube,
Yep,
Facebook,
we
all our
got
usual
YouTube,
suspects.
LinkedIn, Facebook, X, or Twitter.
Okay.
We're all over the place. So
Cool. We are all over the place, but not today. We're gonna try not to be too far over the place as far as what we're doing today. So let me do this. I'm just gonna get. Actually, maybe we should just do a quick plug right now. We'll probably do it at the end. But for those that just joined us, before I switch and make myself small and start modeling, I just want to remind everyone that we're still in our early bird pricing for our SketchUp Basecamp, which is also part of our Trimble Dimensions conference in Las Vegas this year. So we've got a month left. It ends at the end of February. So if you're hoping to attend and meet us all in person, see some live modeling action, attend the parties, all the stuff that we're going to be doing together next November, make sure you check out the 3DBC website so you can get that ticket while you still get the early bird pricing. So I'm going to say that now in case I forget
yep,
to say that at the end. All right. Anything else, or can we just?
got that out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
And
just
just
get.
a reminder, like ticket prices will be going up,
That's
and
right.
like I have to admit, it's not cheap. It is worth it, but get it while it is at its cheapest.
Yeah, so you're gonna hear that a few times from us because we want you to save that money. We want you to get it now while it's cheaper. So I'm gonna shrink myself down. I'm gonna talk about what we're gonna do today, and we're just gonna get right into it. We're just gonna start modeling. So here we go. All right.
So it sounds like from our Facebook chat that there might be an echo going on a little bit
Hmm.
on Facebook. Just a reminder for everybody that's not on the YouTube channel right now that's joining us throughout other platforms. We primarily stream through YouTube, but we also do restream through other platforms. If you have any issues or if there's an echo or anything like that, just jump over to YouTube, youtube.com/@SketchUp, and you can jump on the live there where it's a direct source. Come to its source.
Well, I'm gonna try this, Donovan. You let me know. You checked Facebook. I just took out those wireless earbuds. Sometimes they cause some problems. They've done that in the past. So I just took them out. Let me know if that echo's gone. Otherwise, we're gonna do our best.
Sounds good.
All right. So let's talk about where we've been really quick. We are. Let's see here. If I go to my working section cut here, um, I am kind of inspired by what Aaron had done last week. He had basically taken a building that I did a few weeks ago and had filled it in and created a coffee bar or counter. And I started thinking about how I might be able to extend that design. But really, I'm not actually doing the interior. I was just playing around as I was getting warmed up for the stream. So you can see that he's got this cool pattern and branding. And what we're going to do is we're going to see how much of that we want to carry to the outside. So we're going to kind of pause on the interior. We're going to step outside the building and we're going to think about creating an outdoor cafe, outdoor seating, outdoor room, and sort of bring that experience into the outdoors. And speaking of outdoor seating, I also want to, here's Tyson over here. So I'm going to grab him and I'm going to give him some mad props for, if you caught his stream a couple weeks ago, he modeled 3 chairs in 2 hours, in less than 2 hours. And I wouldn't be able to do that, so I think this is going to be cool. So we've got kind of a loungy seating, and we've got 2 options for stools, and I have to decide which one I think is going to work. So whether that means, of course, a stool means we're going to be at counter height or cocktail table height, and then the lounge seating might be something where we'd have a coffee table because you're sitting lower and you're kind of relaxing and reclining. So I'm going to be taking that into consideration. We might need a 3rd option for a chair or a 4th option, which is just something that you would sit in if you were sitting at a normal outdoor table. So that's where we're at. We've got some cool chairs. We've got a sweet coffee bar, and now we're going to do the patio. So let me know if there's any questions that come in from the chat. If anyone missed the other streams, don't worry about it. You can go back and catch them later. Some good stuff in there.
Yeah, some people are asking if this is part 2. This would actually be part 5. Are we on part 5?
Well, we're not calling it parters because what we're doing is we're breaking it into pieces. So we're dealing with just ideas individually. So the furnishings or chairs that Tyson did, that's kind of its own idea, but I'm going to use them here. So same thing now. I'm going to do outdoor seating. I'm going to do a patio seating, sidewalk cafe context. So it doesn't necessarily need to be applied to this coffee shop, but that's what we're doing is we're each taking a piece of this. So I wouldn't call that, you're not going to see it as a part 1, part 2. You're just going to see it as the building shell. You're going to see it as the coffee bar, and you're going to see it as for furnishing. So check those live streams and you'll see what I mean. So with that, yeah, it was a good question. Keep those questions coming. I want to make sure everyone who's with us, if you're just joining us today, you understand that we are kind of focusing on how our users use it. So interior designers will focus on the inside of the building. Architects might focus on the shell or maybe even the structure. And then landscape architects are just going to think about the context, the plant material, and things like the seating and pathways and that kind of thing.
Yep, we do have an eclectic group of people working here at SketchUp, so there's a lot of different talents.
So I'm going to start by just creating a sidewalk that is, I'm just making this up, 36, 12 feet? A 12-foot sidewalk is going to be kind of good. I'm going to move these chairs inside the building for right now, inside of the cafe or the coffee shop, and I'm going to get to those. Right now I want to do some context. So the context meaning that I'm envisioning this, and for those that are just joining us, we're looking at some real world examples, but we're kind of making stuff up. And so there's this kind of cool challenge of designing and thinking in real time and then saying, this is what I want to do, but I don't know exactly how to do it. And you get to kind of watch us sometimes succeed, sometimes struggle as we kind of think through the process. Did that sort of describe it about right?
Yep.
Donovan?
Yep.
Okay. So what I want to do here is I kind of want to think about this creating, I don't know why I zoomed so far away, probably because I'm just out of habit. I kind of look at it from different angles. I kind of want to create just a flat plane for this to sit on. And then I need to think about how far away. I'm seeing this as a corner cafe. I'm seeing this as sort of a coffee shop that would sit on a corner. And you'll notice that it has windows and doors on all 4 sides. So this might be something that you would see in the median, in a big median, like something you'd see in Santana Row in San Jose. Or it could be like in a park. There's this great park in a new district in Maryland called Pike and Rose. It's like a mixed-use urban design district. And there's this coffee shop that just sits in this block that's actually this central block that's actually a park space. So I kind of see this coffee shop kind of sitting on a corner. So you get you have streets on 2 sides, and then you have sort of park on 2 sides. So that's what I'm envisioning. That's what we're going to go with. If anybody has any, of course, ideas, I'm totally open to them.
We have had a recommendation to model in metric, or a request, I should say.
Yeah. We could do that. We could model in metric. Do we want to model in metric today? I might switch back. I'll try. I'll accept your challenge, but I might end up having to switch back because my math, you'll see me doing too many calculations. But let's start in metric. That'll be fun. I can't promise I can stay in it.
Are you familiar with metric?
Yes, I used to. I have experience working in Canada, and they use the metric system up there. So, also worked for a resort hospitality company, and they worked internationally. So they would work in Dubai, and they would work in Vietnam and places like that. So we want to go decimal. We're changing our units to decimal. We're going to go to, I'm going to go to meters, but I may have to switch to millimeters. Right now we are outside, so we're going to be thinking about things in blocks of, a meter is plus or minus 3 feet. I know that's not the exact number, but that's kind of how I remember it. So, oh man, that's going to throw off everything because I already started drawing. You can see this is 3.66 meters. And then if I go this way for this corner plaza, it's 10.97 meters. So I think we might have to redo that really quick and then just do this in nice round numbers. 10 meters in this direction. And let's see here. I'm going to pull this one off. And we're going to pull this down to 3.5 meters. Yeah. Hey, we haven't actually modeled in metric, have we?
We haven't. There seems to be quite a bit of good response for you modeling a metric. Well, we don't do very often here in the U.S. We are in the imperial system, but from time to time, like Eric says, challenge accepted.
So before we get too far into it or too detailed, I want to hang on. Some of the chats are getting cut off, so I'm going to give some of these. I know I can't get all of the comments in because some of them are really long. I want to think about this spatially. So I want to make sure that we're keeping clear kind of a zone here that's clear. So I want to pull off, I want to say 2 meters, which again is going to be plus or minus 6 feet. That's how I do the math in my head. And that's going to be a clear zone. And I need to take all of this and bring this up to the level of the sort of grout line that we established when I was doing the building shell. So I know that I want to stay out of this area, and I also know that I kind of have to do the same thing and pull this over 2 meters. Whoops, don't know why that went down instead of straight over. There we go. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of as like a minimum clear space that I want to kind of keep because of the doors and stuff like that that's going to happen. So whatever we do outside of this is kind of up to us. The next thing I want to do is do the street corner. So this is going to be fun. Now I can do it in a few ways. If you're doing this manually, you can think about what the radius is that you want on this. So the radius is going to be when you round a corner, that's going to be, obviously it's basically going to tell you whether you have a really wide turn or a really tight turn. So in an urban environment, you actually want a small radius because it forces cars to slow down around the turn. And in sort of more like you'd see in suburban environment, sometimes they have them wider, but of course that makes people speed up around the turns. I'm going to keep this sort of nice and small. So I'm going to go over here and go a 3 meters, which is about 10 feet. And that's going to be a nice, it's going to give me a nice slow curve. So here's the thing. Now, if you can't figure out where the tangent is, so this is what I want to do is see if I can figure out where this is tangent. And if I can't do that, then I would do this instead. I could do a square and go 3, 3, and then I would do a circle, and then you can pull that circle and you know that that's tangent. Tangent meaning that it connects here and it connects here. So entity info, change my segments to something like 24. I want something nice and smooth. Yeah. Now there is an extension though, if you find yourself doing lots and lots of arcs, there is an extension that is called 1001 bit tools. So it has a fillet tool. So if you click on this one, it's kind of this one that looks like nunchucks. If you click on this fillet tool, then it'll ask you click the first line that you want to fillet and then the second line, and it asks you what you want your fillet distance to be. So I can enter that same 3 meters, and you can see it did it automatically for me. So that's that. If you're doing a lot, that's actually way easier than to do it the way that I did it, where I was sort of drawing the dimensions. Little pro tip there. All right, so let me color this sidewalk just because I know, so I kind of can start thinking about what is the area that I want to work in. I'm going to give this a depth of since we're in meters, I'm going to do this as 0.15. Ooh, no, I don't want to do that yet. What I want to do is a curb cut. So a curb cut is basically where a bulb out. A bulb out is a way to make the intersection. I'll just stop talking. Maybe I'll just start drawing. Let's see, what would be a parking space? My metric friends in the chat are going to have to help me, otherwise I have to convert stuff. A typical parking space is going to be, parallel parking space is 7 feet. So I might do 3. That's going to be a little tight. So I might do, so I don't want to do parking on that side.
That's an easy solution.
No, actually I do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this whole thing out more, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to lose that. So if I put a parking stall here, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lose this space. So there we go. See what I mean? Now this is where I want to fillet this. I am going to use that. I just closed that tool palette, but I actually want to use this fillet because I think it's a little bit easier.
It looks like 2.6 by 5.5 meters for a parking space, I'm guessing, is a response from the comments.
Okay, good. So 2.6 by 5.5. I might, okay. So if I'm 3, then that's a little bit wide. Let's try. I want to see if I can get, I may have to give myself more room. I don't think I'm going to be able to get, there we go. All right, so let's do that again. Fillet that one and that one. I did that as 3. There we go. Okay. So what that is that now if I carried this through a little bit further, like I carried this through, oh, I don't want to do that. This is the hard part about, let's see, how far do I want to go? 12 feet? 12 feet. The hard part about doing this designing in real time is you got to sit and watch me think and figure this out, because I don't have this all mapped up. We're kind of making this up as we go. We're basing it a little bit on real world stuff, but we're also just kind of saying, well, what do we think? What do we think we want to do? So what I want to do here is I want to hide all of this for 1 second. And I want to kind of remove this floor from this. I want to kind of, because I've got this Z fighting. So I kind of want to go in and remove that part. And then this floor is coming from the building. And then the other one is coming from the exterior, right? All right, you get it. So let's see, 0.15, this is going to be a curb. And then I want to do a planting area of 6 feet, so 2. And then that's going to be that. That's going to be planting. And then that's going to kind of tell me where I can put, I'm going to need a 2 for a walkway. Oh, a little trick here. If you're in metrics and you're in using the metric system, or you're Imperial, actually I don't know if it works. Maybe it works both ways. But like if I wanted to not do metric and I knew I wanted this to be in Imperial distance, so instead of being 2 meters, I could come over here and offset this and say, I actually want this to be 6 feet. And I can enter that little foot apostrophe, and you can see what it did is, in this case, I'm not having to do the math. I can actually work both in Imperial and in metric at the same time. So some of this stuff I might go with the metric, and some I might go with Imperial just because it's easier math for me. So I've got this cool corner here, and then I've got this place for this cafe area. So I've got some space to work. So I'm going to take as much room as I can get. Is there any anybody do landscape design in the chat? Anybody does this kind of stuff for a living? I'd be curious.
Looks like we do have some carpenters that are sounding off in the chat. Nobody's talked about landscape design yet.
All right, so here's what I'm trying to get to. Here's what I'm getting at is that I need to sort of define the space. So I'm using these kind of desire lines. I know that I need to keep this pathway clear. And I know that I have to keep sort of this outside sidewalk clear. And I know that I want to put street trees in. So in a way, it's like I kind of know what I'm working with, what I have. And then now what leaves me with is, okay, this is what you've got left. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. I'm going to start by creating a wall, like a concrete wall, because I need to do a backing for a deck. I kind of want to do a deck.
Looks like we do have landscape architects out there. Stephen from the YouTube chat has chimed in and said that he's a landscape architect.
Oh, awesome. Well, welcome. Well, feel free to call me out on anything that I'm doing wrong, because again, we're just kind of riffing today, and we're just going to see where we get. I'm going to take this wall up. If it's a seat wall height, I would go up to something like 20, but I might not make this a seat wall because I'm kind of almost like, let's see, let's bring this up 1 meter. I'm kind of thinking that this is like the backing of, you know what I mean? Like this kind of divides what is the public realm versus what is more private. Man, I really wish I came up with a design now, like an actual proper design, and then built that. But then that takes a little bit of the fun out of it. You tell me, Donovan, how many people in the chat like to watch me struggle versus like to watch me execute things perfectly according to plan? I'd be curious to take a
You know what? I think if we've learned anything over the sheer amount of times that we've done these lives is that people really dig it when the modelers struggle.
Well, the other thing too is I've learned is that it's okay to ask for help. So I like actually that we've got such a good audience as far as people when we're actually asking them like, how would this structurally come together? How would you build this? You know, how tall is this in meters? I don't have to know the answer to everything. I can ask you guys.
Keggy says he just likes to watch you work on whatever you're doing. Lawrence chimed in and says struggle is a human condition. So I guess, yeah,
all right.
It happens.
I'm going to pull this out another 2 meters because I want to plant. I kind of want to put a bomber tree. So folks, you'll have to forgive me if this doesn't come out to be like an awesome design or whatnot, because I'm literally we're just going for it. But then again, look what Aaron did. I mean, I don't know what he used for reference to do, like what Tyson was using. Like what did Tyson use? I didn't see him bring in CAD plans and an image of a chair. He just said, well, a chair is kind of like this. And he struggled a little bit and then pulled off these awesome chairs. Aaron did the same thing. As far as I know, he didn't look at a photograph and say, I'm going to repeat this photograph exactly as it is. He just kind of went with it. Oh, Aaron, by the way, I took your flooring out. So if he's watching, I took your flooring material because I think the flooring should be driven, whoever takes the rest of the interior of the space should pick the flooring. And then the other thing I did was I changed your glass color from blue to gray so that if we go to V-Ray later and we switch the glass out, it switches them all out rather than having to do each glass individually. So if you're watching, Aaron, I made 2 changes to your coffee bar. You can get mad at me if you want.
Or thank you later if he ends up liking it. So.
Yeah. Do we want to do 2 steps or just 1? What do you think feels like it separates the space enough from?
I'm trying. I think the last kind of coffee bar cafe that I went to that had a patio like that, it was just the 1 step up.
It was just a 1-stepper. I'm thinking a 1-stepper too, and the reason why is hang on. Yeah, just because I'm thinking this is just a wood deck. I mean, well, you could technically embed the wood deck and it could be flush, which would be smart because it would be ADA compliant, which is American with Disabilities Act here in the United States. But in this case, we can say, well, we actually have seating inside, which is ADA, and we have seating outside that may not be. So as long as we accommodate it. The next thing I have to think about too is maybe I need to pause here and I need to grab this chair. I'm thinking this is the chair. And I have to grab this chair because maybe it'd be better moving forward for me to think about designing the space around the chairs, almost like creating a seating arrangement. Like here, I'm thinking we could do a little coffee table and a chair. There we go. And then this one could have like a little table in between them. So that means I have to model a coffee table. So here, now, this is the kind of fun thing where it's like, I'm trying not to go to 3D Warehouse. So I had to go 0.5 meters maybe. Pull this up.
Because it depends on what you want to do with a coffee table.
What do I want to do with the coffee table? I just want to set my cup of coffee on it. How high do we want to go on a coffee table height? Kind of want to put your feet underneath it. So I'm going to go with 0.5. I'm going to go with 0.5 meter. And then this is where it gets fun. We get to figure out what its stands on. So I could steal from his chairs. Should we do that? Should we steal from his chairs?
Yep.
All right.
Use your resources.
You know, Donovan, I like asking you questions though, because it makes me feel like I'm not making all the decisions. Because as a designer and modeler, it's kind of like sometimes it's just too much work to think through everything and you just want to be told what to do. Can you just tell me what to do? Just tell me
I don't know if it'll
how you want it.
turn out as well. Hey, David from the YouTube chat says, I'm confined to a wheelchair and I want to thank you for thinking about the ADA. So many businesses don't think about it at all.
Oh,
it's
you
sad
got
that
it.
it's been around since 1990 and it's still hard to get compliance. So.
You know what? We all should be doing it regardless of ADA. Yeah, we should be doing it anyway, you know, and it's not just the wheelchairs, it's other disabilities as well. I mean, but that's a different story, but you're right. We shouldn't be mandated to do it. We should be doing it anyway. And also to me, it's like, I also have to give and take. You almost can't do it every time, but you want to make sure that it's like the intent. Maybe you can't follow the law explicitly, but you can say, but we've accommodated it in a different way. It forces you to be creative. Like, we don't just have to say, well, the law says do this. Maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe the design actually, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, we're kind of something that we think of as a constraint can actually be an opportunity for creativity.
Yep. One of my favorite quotes is creativity through constraints. So,
all right. So there's my coffee table using Tyson's legs, not actually your legs, Tyson, because that would be table would be really tall. Have you seen how tall Tyson is? That's a good segue, actually. If you guys want to see how tall Tyson is, I'll show you. Watch. If you go grab his scale figure. I'm going to copy it and paste it here. Little segue. And up next to Heather and Lily. I don't know. Heather and Lily, are you that? There we go. Yeah, I don't know how tall if everyone drew their scale figures accurately, but yeah, Tyson's quite tall. If you haven't met Tyson in person, hey, come to base camp. Meet Tyson in person. See how tall he is. Get your picture taken next to him.
Did you draw your scale figure to scale, as it were?
Yeah, no, like everyone, I exaggerated my scale, made myself taller than I really am. No, I did it at the right size. So I'm using this color here, this tan color, just to represent wood. But I may also, because I'm kind of stealing from Aaron's, but I don't like to model early in the process with. I don't like to model with textures because I don't want to be influenced by them. So what I'll do instead is use the eyedropper and sample the texture. So like if you come over here, instead of using plywood, you can use the eyedropper and sample the plywood color. And then when you apply that, it basically is a stand-in. There's cool ways to do that too. You can select everything on the same color. So then that way you can group things individually. You can also replace using V-Ray. So there's reasons why you want to kind of almost wait, for me anyway, to get too far with materials and just model with colors. I want to create a counter. I want to turn this into a bar counter. I don't know if I think, you know what I mean, for people watching. I want a tree.
Yep.
Here's what I want. I want a big old, I want trees, like, you know, where I can do some hanging lights and stuff. And then I want a bar counter so that you can like stand on it, or you can use these tall stools and you can people watch. And then I want possibly some movable cocktail tables so that they're freestanding. So if you had to rearrange them or something, you could. Whereas the bar counter would be fixed. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Can we do that?
Yep.
Okay.
So Ray's from the chat says, do you guys know where I can access this model you're working on?
You know, we haven't made this public yet. So I don't know. We haven't decided what we're going to do with it. The point that we were trying to make, let me tell you, the point of this was to stretch, not just do a live stream in multiple parts. It was to tackle the different pieces of what could be a real world project, and then take that and then do something with it. So we could turn this into our marketing graphics. We could turn this into a campus course. We could turn this into we could teach it. We could do a presentation at a base camp or a boot camp. So this idea that we're we are sort of really going deeper and further than we normally do in these live streams. So what we do with this is a great question. I would love to hear from people in the chat, like, what are some ideas other than going to V-Ray, going to layout, going to teaching it in a live course, sharing it with you all, Trimble Connect, VR. Is that enough? Was that enough ideas, or do we need more? How do I get this to be parallel? Sometimes I have, okay, there it is. It's the inferencing. Sometimes I struggle with inferencing.
Peggy's asking what part of the world is this coffee shop located?
That's a great question. We should have almost started with that. Where should this be? It's not anywhere right now, which is not how you start a real project. Oh, I keep typing in 12 meters and I wanted 12 inches. I wanted 12 inches. Listen, I'm thinking this place, it's got to be some place where in the summers you want to go spend your time outside. I'm thinking of it next to a park, but it could be anywhere. Obviously, we're in the United States, so it's easy to think of it as defaulting the United States, but I'm thinking this is maybe in a new construction as part of a redevelopment, so something where an area is going to put in some mixed use, or they're going to like be next to a transit station. So having this kind of classic, this coffee shop attached to a park in kind of an urban block, that would be kind of cool, but that could be anywhere. How's that my sound? Did that echo come back, or did that fix it when I took my headphones
From what
off?
I've seen in the comments, this sounds pretty good.
Is it okay? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Peggy did follow up and say it would influence the outdoor area design, depending on where in the world it is.
It would, exactly. Yeah, it would. Let's see.
And then Transom says, how about trying diffusion with it too?
You know what? We're gonna add that to our list. We will do we will see what diffusion interprets this as. But I'm not gonna do that today. So we'll have to do that. What do you think the diameter of a pipe that holds this thing up? Should we go thicker at 2 inches or thinner, or should we turn the thing and have it mounted into the concrete? I think that would be more interesting. I think if we turned this thing, oh man. Oh man. Okay, so here's a little trick. If you're doing something off axis like this and you're finding that inferencing is kind of bugging you, you can come over here and say place the axis and move it over to the thing that's off axis. And then from here, I would just save a scene, and I would just call this bar axis. And then the reason why is that you could go from my working scene. You can see what happens is I go to my working scene and it reset the axis back to world. And then if I go bar axis, it's on an angle. So now anytime I want to draw on that angle, it's just as simple as clicking the scene. So pro tip. If I don't want to see it, I can just turn it off. It's still there. It's not, I don't need to see it. Because you'll see when I start drawing here, watch. I was trying to draw and it was not wanting to line up and I was tired of inferencing. So let's come up to 0.5 meters because we're working in meters now. There we go. I wanted that. Sorry, I don't do a great job at sort of centering what I'm modeling in the view. I tend to just kind of do it at whatever scale makes sense for me. So what we need to do is decide where we want to turn this. That would be 0.25. No, that wouldn't be. 0.15. 0.075. Excuse me. Okay, so I want to make sure that this circle hits here, and then that's a little bit off, so I'm going to move it down, and you'll see what I'm doing in a second. Okay, what I needed was I'm trying to get this profile here, and I want just that.
Sounds like our friends from the UK aren't having great weather because they're chiming in and saying, "Hey, if this was here in the UK, we wouldn't need an outdoor area."
You know what though? Actually, that's a good point because I want to think about covering this. So let's put a cover over it. That way, even in the UK, it's probably freezing cold. Who knows? Maybe you could have outdoor heaters. Maybe you can have those clear plastic, drapes or the whatever, the windscreens that they put on it. So we're going to go Tools, Follow Me, which I don't have a shortcut for. It does not appear to be a valid path. Uh-oh, what did I do wrong? Why not? Let's try welding it and see if it tells me if there's a problem. Okay, so if I weld it, that appears to be a valid path. No?
Huh.
Follow me. There it is. Okay.
There it is. Okay.
There it is. So now what I want to do is bring this down. I'm setting way too many guidelines. Tyson would be like, dude, you're just inference and it'll be fine. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm not as good as you at that. It's reversed. For anyone who sees it's reversed, I know it's reversed. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to offset this, and I'm going to go with, again, I'm going back and forth between metric and imperial, so forgive me. 0.5 inches, 0.5 inches. I don't know why that wasn't softened, but we're going to go ahead and make that a component and soften it. So, yeah, hopefully you don't mind like that I just kind of describe what I'm doing, because I feel like I can stay on task better when I am talking through what I'm doing.
No, that's kind of the point of the whole modeling process, is describing what you're doing.
Yeah. Otherwise I get distracted because I want to say like, hey, Donovan, tell me about, films and stuff like that. But then if you do that and then you ask me a question about like what movies I saw lately, then I would say, what? I'm thinking about what I'm doing. Okay, so that was a really long time it took me to do this, which is this little pipe support. But hey, I've got it now. It's a component. Who knows? Maybe I'll use that for every model I do from now on. So how many do we think we're going to need? I think we are going to figure out where the endpoint is, which I think I put it at 1 foot. And then what I want to do is use my K shortcut so that I can find it hidden in here. And I'm going to copy this over to there. And then I'm going to use the divide command by 3. Yeah, by 3 looks pretty good, don't you think? Yeah. I don't know. I would love for, again, somebody who knows better, feel free to chime in. All right, we're just making this up. We're doing our best, folks.
That's how we do.
That's what we do. Every day we
Simon
show up.
chimed in and says he really liked your statement about the real world examples of modeling.
So I'm just so when I do this kind of stuff, I think about not only places that I've been, but I also think about places that I want to be, I want to go. Like, not just, is this a cool coffee shop, or is it a cool park, or is it a cool street? But then it's like the hierarchy of like, what caught my eye from a distance? What caught my eye as I walked up? What caught my eye inside? What caught my eye on the seating? All these things, like in the back of my brain, make that decision. Even just from like, oh, I want to sit right here because I love actually just watching people walk by. So if I come over here and open up my components, I might be able to pull open. Again, I don't want to go too crazy right now because this isn't an entourage exercise, but I might just put in, just to kind of remind you that this is kind of a cool people watching spot. Now, I have to decide if I'm going to allow on-street parking on this side. If I do, I need to open up this corner even more, but I think I'm going to wait and do that later. So let's open up my components. Let's bring a car in. So with design and cars, my theory is the slower the cars, the better, and the fewer cars, the better. But that doesn't mean don't have them. That doesn't mean ban them. It just means slow them down and don't give them priority. And then yeah, they can come and hang out with us. So extensions, materials, tools, remove from selection. I like just my cars nice and plain like that. And then I probably want to go back to my working axis now. And again, I think somebody pointed out that I was a little bit further than I needed to be. I actually have a little bit of room. Ooh, that's not good. Let's see here. I may not be able to do this because I may have to redo I'm going to screw everything up. So there's a few ways to do this. You could scale it. We could fake it and scale it, but then your tangent's going to be off, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave this as just sort of an extra wide parking space for right now, and I'll have to decide if I'm going to come back and fix this later. Let's give this a curb. 0.15.
So Simon chimed back in and said, I work in reverse engineering with existing structures, systems, and components. And I think that a series of videos covering challenges of solving that problem using SketchUp would be very useful. It's a good idea.
All right. I love new ideas. I love good ideas. We're always looking for suggestions around here. So let's go with 0.075, which is 3 inches plus or about. And then let's grab a green color. I'm just looking for just a basic green for right now. I'm not super concerned. All right, so we're getting somewhere, folks. We're getting somewhere. We have the corner. Do you guys want to do a curb cut? Does anybody want to see how to do a curb cut? Those are kind of tricky because
I don't know what that is, so yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I love your enthusiasm. A curb
we got
cut.
A comment from Twitter saying, is it best to use SketchUp on a Mac instead of Windows? And I think that's just personal preference.
Yeah, personal preference. No. However you want to do it. SketchUp does not discriminate. There are only minor differences. For example, some people comment on these crayons that are behind me. The crayons I like to use them because I'm lazy and it's just faster. I like to use bright, bold colors. But that's driven by the OS X, the operating system. Same thing if I was to add text. So if I was going to go to 3D text, and if you wanted to change the font comes from the OS X. But other than that, it's pretty much. Oh, there's a couple differences. I think Macs allow you to import PDFs, whereas for some reason PC doesn't allow you to import PDFs.
In Windows.
Yeah, and I know that Macs, some people maybe don't like it, but I like to float my trays above my bar because I like the full width available. But with PC, you have what's called the default tray, and it locks to the right side. Also, PCs you can dock icons anywhere. I've seen people with thousands of icons of extension icons, and I don't use thousands of. You can see I follow the CAD mantra of clean screen modeling, which is to get as many things out of the way as possible so you can just be in it. You can just be in it. So where was I? I was trying to figure out this is what I mean by a curb ramp. What we need to do is we need to bring this down. Yeah, that was it. So what you need to do is you just have to figure out, it's like auto folding. You just have to figure out, if you're going to do this for real, you probably actually have to do the math and say, well, this needs to be a certain distance. I use this as 6 feet. So in Imperial, it's going to be 6 feet because 6 feet over 6 inches, I think, let me do some math here. If you go 0.5 divided by 6 feet is 0.833333. That's a 1 to 12 slope. That's ADA. So that's 6 feet is minimum ramp that you need distance, horizontal distance, to clear a 6-inch curb. So that's why I used a 6-foot offset. And then all you do from here is you just break that line here and here. And then when you move this down along the blue axis, you can see it auto folds. And then now you have a curb ramp. So you have an ADA, you have an accessible corner curb. Now sometimes you have those, sometimes you'll see 2 of them. You'll see one here and one here. In this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do the one. So, all right. All right, sorry, let's keep going. Folks, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good on time. What I want to do now is I want to build a cocktail table that sort of rounds out our deck area. And then so that these stools, we can have more of these stools. And then if I'm not sold on the deck being raised, I would just put it down. In fact, I might just put it down, to be honest with you. Now that our friend chimed up about ADA, I think it may be better just to do the wood decking and just change the material and not lift it up. The other option is you can always choose to do something like this, which is where you lift up only one part of it. So what I mean by this idea that, well, not every part of the space needs to be, you know, ADA compliant. I think as long as you have options so that you're not limiting who can access the site. I want to get rid of that line. I don't know why that line's there. That was messing me up. See what I mean? So now I've got this kind of, this little seating area here.
Ray's chimed in on the comments saying, what was the ADA standard again for curb cutouts?
Well, a curb ramp is 1 divided by 12, so 1 to 12, which is, if you do the math, that's that ends up being a percentage of 0.8883. So that's the maximum slope that you can have on an ADA ramp. So if you're only coming up 6 inches, it means that you have to go back, you have to start your ramp 6 feet back. So just remember 6 inches, 6 feet. That'll get you the size that you would need for the curb ramp. And again, I'm sure there's different standards in different jurisdictions, so I can't speak for everybody in the world. How we doing? How we doing, Donovan? How are you doing?
We're good.
Are we doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Do you feel like that would be a space? Would you want to sit? Where would you sit? Would you choose the comfy chairs, or would you choose the? Would you kind of people watch and watch the cars go
I
by?
would stand. So I was kind of thinking about like the when we were together in Colorado for our team meeting, and we went out to eat. You and I and Tyson tended to stand and talk and people watch and mountain gaze and all the fun things you can do. People are chiming in saying people watch for sure.
Yeah. Now I'm just like totally messing around. Do I feel like I want to frame this corner? I feel like maybe this corner almost wants to be framed in, but that doesn't give you a lot of space for a planter. If I'm doing a 1 foot thick wall, which might want to go to 6 inches, but then if you do 6 inches, maybe 8 inches would have been better. I don't know. This is
Depends on the kind of plant you're going to want to put in there, right?
Yeah, I was just trying to think about whether I wanted, and I don't know. Like, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe I just try it and I think, does this feel too enclosed? I think it does. I feel like you want this side open. But then the question I was asking myself is, do you want it completely open, or do you want it to kind of line up with here? Because then it feels like these people aren't like totally exposed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other option is you don't need a planter. The other option is literally just coming in here and saying, well, what if you just took this? I mean, they don't have to be at the same height either. I mean, this could be a little, I don't know. This could be like a little bench. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just going to leave the wall there for now, but I'm going to get rid of the planter because it doesn't feel like it's enough space to make a difference.
Okay.
Okay. So I need you to sign off on all my design decisions, Donovan, so I don't have to.
I'm for it.
So I don't overthink it, and then I feel like, and then else if it doesn't go wrong, if it goes wrong, I can say, well, Donovan told me that he preferred that option.
Yeah, plausible deniability, is that what it's called?
Yeah. So I'm going to return that for now, and I may or may not leave it because it might be weird. All right.
Yeah, Keggy says you should leave it open because I think it would encourage people to actually come in.
Who was that, Keggy?
Yep.
All right, Keggy. I'm going to do it because I respect Keggy's point of view. So let's do that. Okay. Moving on. Let's do a trellis. I want to do two things. I want to do a bar counter that matches this sort of industrial pipe look, and then I want to do a trellis, and then I want to put some trees in. So if we can get those things done, I'll be happy. If we have more time, we can do. I want to do a sandwich board. I want to do some signage and wayfinding so that you can see that this is. Aaron did all this great job with the spot. This is the spot to be. So we definitely need some signage on that. So let's do that. Let's start with a column. I'm going to stick to metrics, guys. I'm going back and forth. So whoever does this, Aaron, if you get this model next and you get weird dimensions all over the place, it's because half of it was drawn in imperial and half of it was drawn in metric. So you can go ahead and yell at me for that one.
Peggy says, sorry, Eric, but he takes no responsibility.
No responsibility. Okay, so I'm going to go 0.15, comma 0.15, which I think is sort of good start for a column, and then we can decide whether that's too thick or too thin. I kind of like, as a wannabe designer that doesn't know what he's doing, I kind of just ask myself constantly, how does this feel? And I think that's actually how, to be honest with you, I think that's how a lot of designers do it. That's like their secret. They don't tell you that, like, there's not as much magic to it as we think. It's really just, I mean, there is and there isn't. Like, so I shouldn't say that. There is a lot to it, and experience matters. But at the same time, there's also like, I don't know, you can sometimes just feel it. Okay, so speaking of feeling it.
So Niraj from LinkedIn says, Eric is so good at what he does. Him just thinking out loud is interesting to hear. So kind of a follow-up to your comment from earlier about thinking out loud. So.
Is that my buddy Niraj who used to work for SketchUp? Niraj, love you, buddy. All right. Does anyone use that? This is showing back edges. I kind of don't use that enough, and I started doing that more, which is turning back edges on and off, and I've got, because there's a shortcut for that. Did I make this a component? Oh, good, I did. Good. Okay, what I want to do is I'm going to add like some crosshairs because it just helps me with like lining things up. How do I want to do this? I could do it like this here. Grab that. Use inferencing. Then I switch over to my other axis. Oh, see, folks? See how switching axis, how that came in handy? I'm like telling that to myself. I'm like justifying, like, see, I did something smart. Yeah. Okay.
Simon says, as an engineer, I can't say it looks right, but it's probably right.
You know what, Simon? No engineers allowed in this stream, because this stream is about we're just playing make-believe. But listen, that is an important reminder, though, that like you got to be careful that you're not designing stuff that can't get built. So definitely if you're not the engineer on the team, find one and get them involved. Yeah, so that you're not getting too far down the process, and then you're like, I guess you also just learn by doing, you know what I mean? Like, you just learn over time. Like, you just kind of know, oh yeah, don't do that, that's not going to work. Oh yeah, don't do that, that can't get built. Oh yeah, don't do that, it's going to be expensive. Huh, weird. You know what's kind of fun about Follow Me?
What's that?
Is that you can, like, it took me a while to realize that like your follow me's and your profiles don't have to be in the same place. Like, you can follow me something way up here. So if I come over here and go tools, follow me, and then I click here, you can see what it did. It's using the path that is way up high, but it's sending it down where the profile is down below. So it's sort of like for example, like I don't want this path here because it's going to split my line. So I grab this one, and then I go follow me. And yeah, some of you are like, yeah, I know that. So, but I'm like, that's cool. Okay, so let's apply a color to it. I'm kind of doing this out of order because I did say that I wanted to, I don't know, why would I do this? Why would I cover the planting well if I'm going to put a tree there? Unless the intention is to have the tree come up through the trellis. Otherwise, that's silly, and I should move this over, and it should stop. Peggy
says if you're going to put trees there, they're going to need to be bonsais.
Yeah, I don't know if that I want bonsais, so what I might do instead is just, I don't know that I want to like leave a hole. All right. You know who'd be really good at this part of the process? Would be Aaron. Because he...
Oh, yeah?
Did you remember how he did that stream on like wood framing for
Oh yeah,
house timber framing. And that was like
very
one of our most
popular.
popular views or one of our
Yeah.
most popular videos. And it's like, really? Sorry, Aaron, I no offense, but like, really? That the framing one was, but yeah, surprisingly, that was, he killed it. And so that point is that like he knows what he's doing, I think, when it comes to that. So credit where it's due. So I'm trying to make a rafter, and I was trying to think about how thin that I want it. Yeah, I kind of want it thin. So this is where I'm using nonlinear scaling. So I don't know how people feel about that. If you have strong feelings. If you have strong feelings about nonlinear scaling, let us know in the chat. Didn't I get it was both serious and joke at the same time. I don't know. It's so boring. It's such a boring trellis. What can I do to make this more interesting? We could lift one side up. And we could do a lot of things. I'm going to leave it simple for now, and then we're going to have to, so I can just kind of keep going, and then I can look at it and be like, yeah. You know what you could do?
Yeah, look at that and say, make it more interesting with like decorations, hanging vines, lights, things like that, rather than the structure itself.
Yeah. And this is not the way to do this, folks. I'm just like being lazy, which is funny because being lazy is actually in this case probably slower than like using an extension and doing this proper, or grouping these and using solid tools and then like literally removing these. But I'm just literally just pushing them into place. Select all instances, group them, and then group that all together. You know, it's not just about the trellis though, it's also about stepping back and remembering that like to think about it as an idea, you know? So like to look at it like, okay, how does it look like from when you're approaching the street? That's low, so that's my problem. Maybe that's the biggest problem, is that I did it lined up with the when I had the ceiling turned off. So if I lined it there we go.
Randy says maybe angle each beam. Keggy says put them on top and leave the overhang.
Put them on top, leave the overhang. You know, I don't like that, to be honest. I'm going to push back on that one. Was that Keggy? And the reason why is because it feels too garden trellisy. You know, it feels too much like, you know, grandma's backyard. And I know that maybe that's, I don't know. Has that better? Maybe it's this like little notch thing. I'm going to go with it. You know what? We're going to go with it. We're going to keep moving on because we've got some other stuff to do. We're just getting warmed up. This is just one part of it, one piece of this puzzle. So let's think about that, how that looks in perspective. If we kind of roll back a little bit, it's kind of cool. I kind of like the way it looks in the 1 point perspective, because it sort of gets wider as it gets to the corner. The other thing is that this maybe this is bothering me. What if we pulled this back completely? And then it felt like you could okay. I don't know if this is what I'm wanting to do or not. All right. See what I did there?
Little bit. Yeah.
A little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, my thinking, let me see here. Let me grab that there.
Yeah, what is your
I'm wondering,
thinking?
does it make more sense to have that open because it kind of gives you almost a straight shot into, see, I didn't really think of that. If I was really doing this desire line, I would have cut that off there, but I'm going to run with it. All right, let's make a standing table. So I'm going to go with the rectangle. And I'm going to go 2 feet, comma 2 feet, just to stick with my theme of mixing imperial and... Oh, wait, should we do round tables? I'm going to go square. I'm going to go square. And then I'm going to grab one of these little pipe components here. And I'm going to paste that in place. Watch. So I'm going to grab that there. And I'm going to move it. Luckily, I left that little guideline in there. Didn't mean to, but I did. So that actually helps me center that. So I know that that's there. But I want to make a unique component of this one. And the reason why is because I want this one to go straight. So I'm going to say make unique. And I'm going to say explode. Get rid of that one and pull this down. Group delete. It's my group delete technique, so I don't accidentally lose the edge on that side. See, for the other thing, the reason I want to do this is just to kind of remind people that sometimes it's better to just model something from scratch, even if it's somewhat fairly simplistic, than it is to go to 3D Warehouse, because we give people a lot of sort of advice about if you go to 3D Warehouse, again, it's such a great resource. And I think that's why we kind of tend to overuse it. It's very easy to grab from 3D Warehouse without sort of taking the time to look. Are there extra tags? Is it too high poly? Let's go with cocktail table. Is it, I mean, that's probably pretty much, you know, is it have a bunch of materials that haven't been purged? There's a lot of stuff sometimes you get with the 3D Warehouse that I feel like I just want to make sure I remind people, like, you know, in that case, it may be just as much work to clean something up than it is to just do it from scratch. Like Tyson modeled this chair here, and now we've modeled this building, and everything except what? Aaron, are you on the stream? Everything except that cash register and those bagels. I mean, he even modeled the coffee cup. Do you remember?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. Standing table. All right, so I'm going to pretend like these are built in. I said movable tables, but that pipe kind of implies that it has a collar on it, which means that it's actually fixed to the ground. It's built. It's maybe poured in place, and then that collar on it just there as like a finishing detail. So let's copy those out. How many do we want to do? Divided by 2. Yeah, that's probably good. So Tyson, you're driving this whole thing here. So if anyone doesn't like this layout, you have to blame Tyson because I'm just kidding, blame me. But because I was really wanting to make sure that I used both of his chairs, so I kind of created this little seating area up high, and I created like these sort of like standing areas. So hopefully Tyson, hopefully I did your chairs a little bit of justice here. And I understand that you could fall off backwards if you push yourself too far on that side. So I don't know, something to think about. All right, what do you think? What do you think? I almost want to take this wood. I don't know. I almost want to take this all the way to the building. What if we took this all the way to the front of the building?
That would seem to make sense just because you wouldn't have that gap of, you know, precipitous weather that might be getting in if you happen to live in a place like the UK where it does rain a lot.
I'm just wondering, like, I think the cool thing about the Sidewalk Cafe is that it sort of reinforces this indoor-outdoor relationship, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at. So I think almost by having this go all the way to here, I don't know why this piece, that piece needs to go inside of the, that was me just messing around. Copy that, delete it, go in, paste it in place. There we go. So when I hide it, that little floating shelf isn't there anymore. All right, so let's see how that looks. Unhide. So then you can see how it flows, like the wood from inside just kind of flows out to this area here. Yeah. The other option is we could just get rid of this little lounge seat and we could turn the corner with the standing bar. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it. So let's put some trees in. Let's get our tree on. I've got these trees here. These I think are, I don't know if they were made by or if they were found and just kind of put into a collection by my good friend Daniel Tall. Some of you might know Daniel Tall. He's well known in the SketchUp landscape world.
We do talk about him pretty regularly.
Yeah, I like to give him a shout. These are kind of my 3 favorite trees from this group that I tend to use. This one here is because it looks like it could be an aspen or a poplar, which is more columnar. So a lot of times having a tree like that could be a good screening tree, or it could be something that you'd find in a more naturalistic environment. This one here kind of reminds me, I would think of like a London plane, a traditional European street tree. Obviously this shape could be anything. This could be magnolia. What else could it be? It's probably too large for like a Bradford pear, something that you might see here in California. And then this last one here makes me think of like a single trunk Lagerstromia, which Lagerstromia is crepe myrtle. So crepe myrtles, I think, you find those in the US and in Europe. I don't know, again, for anyone who's in South Africa or chiming in from the Middle East, I know that you've got different, based on your climates, you're like in Middle East, I know you get like royal poinciana. Poinciana is like a flowering tree, a coral tree. It's different ones that will do well there. I like to change this one to a different color because I like to think of this as like my accent tree, right?
That's an amazing tree knowledge, Eric. I didn't know you knew so much about trees.
Well, I don't. I just pretend to. I just try to sound smart. Hopefully I did.
Well, if that was the case, those are some great buzzwords because, ooh.
Well, if you
I was
learn
like,
the Latin names,
I know trees. I don't know trees like you know trees.
Yeah, you learn the Latin names and you can sound super smart because they're like super fancy. Like this one's really hard. It's a queen palm, and so it's really common here in California. It's really a basic palm that you see everywhere because it's hard to kill. And that one is, I think it's Siagris romans offianum. And it's like, I just remember how many syllables that is. Siagris romans offianum. It's like 9 syllables. Betula.
You could be making it up for all I know. I believe you.
So I'm going to do this one here. I'm going to put this into my tree well. And then I want to do the same thing, only here you can see that it's narrower. So I'm going to create a, first thing we need to do is we need a curb. So I need to offset this. I should have done this probably before I did the curb ramp, but let's see what's the best way to do this. Take that one. Oh, I don't like that this broke. Probably because I used the, it's because I used that extension, and so that, I don't know, it does it differently, the way it does the fillet. So I'm going to weld those edges. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to offset those two. Oh, did I just end up offsetting the whole thing? That's okay. It's probably better that I do it that way because then I get everything all at once, everything everywhere, all at once.
Simon says you're a tree genius or treenius.
Treenius. That's so funny. Actually, I'm not. There's what we call plant nerds. So in our world, they're plant nerds, and those are people who like really know their plants and like the ones, because landscape and horticulture share a lot of overlap, because horticulture is more like, if you're working in a nursery, or if you're an arborist, or if you're an urban forester or something like that, then you may be coming from a horticultural degree. And then if you're landscape, oh, I didn't want to lose that. Hang on. There we go. I just wanted to soften these, but I think I'm just going to do them manually. Okay. But if you're landscape, then you learn the trees, but you don't know as much. It's so hard to like be an expert in that because there's so many other things that like in landscape we're supposed to know. That's true of any profession, though, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Richos says, I'm totally in agreement with you. If you're using warehouse to make sure that you keep the poly count down on furniture, if you're going to import it into your model. Yeah, and that's something that we talk about all the time is like if you import too much from the warehouse, there is a good chance that your poly count is going to go way up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's just one of those things where it's like, I mean, hopefully everyone knows that by now. It's, the warehouse is, for as good as it is, it's it's also user driven, right? So there's just, that's the cool thing about it, is you can upload almost anything, but it just sometimes just makes it a little bit harder to make sure that you're getting really good quality stuff. So over time, the more you do it, the more you kind of search, the more you kind of know how to use filters. Like whenever I do something on campus, on a campus course, I'll always take the time to go and review 3D warehouse best practice, guys and gals. Like, don't forget. Ooh, my score line doesn't line up, so I'm gonna just move this planter. I'm actually gonna move the planter. That's what's fun about being in Fantasyland, is that you can just move stuff around. I'm putting some score lines in. Of course, these won't render because there's no thickness to them. They're just edges, so just keep that in mind. If you do want it to render, you may want to do something like a bump map, or you may want to actually go in, and if you really had the time and energy, you would create a little bit of a gap and you would depress that so that there's actual geometry, scoreline's geometry, and then that'll cast that light and it'll get that highlight the way that you would see in real life. Of course, there's other ways. Let's see. Did that line up? Oh, if I was smart, it would. I might fake it. Fake it till you make it. All right. Okay. So, where are we going next? I wanted to do some more street trees, but I want to do them. I want to do them along this side, but I don't want to put another planter because you can see I've got way more space over here because of the bulb out. For some reason, I didn't put a bulb out on this side. Who knows? Maybe it's just, the streets are different. There's a different kind of street here and a different kind of street there. Maybe it's loading zone.
Is there any regulations as to what kind of foliage goes on, can go on the sidewalk and what can't?
Cities will have approved street trees. So, yeah, I mean, every place is going to be different. So obviously sometimes they'll say stuff like don't use only one street tree because, if you have a blight or a pest and it takes, say, all of your trees out at once, that might be, a bad thing. Just guessing. Speaking of ADA, the tree grates, does anyone know that tree grates are kind of tricky with ADA because tree grates, old-fashioned ones, are really wide spacing so that light can get into the soil and air, but newer ones have much tighter spacing because people can trip over it, but also high heels and things can get stuck in it. So you also want to think even with something as simple as a tree grate, there are different versions that may work better.
It's amazing all the things you have to keep in mind when you're making something.
I know. It's so easy when we're just in SketchUp and we're just playing around and we're having fun, but then when you're really trying to make it real, it gets real complicated real quick. So I put a tree component inside of a grate component. So now if I wanted to, I could copy the grate. The cool thing about making both of them is I can use just the grate by itself for some reason, although I don't know why I would want the grate by itself, but I've got the grate. Maybe I want to use it for two different trees, one big tree, one small tree. But then in this case, I've got also this tree. So if I wanted to swap this out later with a render ready tree, I could just literally swap the component out and it'll swap all of them out. Or the opposite, I can change the grate and it'll change all of them. So that's why I'm I'm nesting some components here. So let's take those, and what spacing? If we're in meters, you'd want 30 feet spacing for trees. So that would be 10 meters plus or minus. So that hits me. You can see my score lines are in meters. So that's perfect. Hit exactly where I wanted it to go. Yeah, this is funky. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I want this to come back down again. Maybe I want that to be lower than the building so you can see the roof. Maybe I want this to be bigger. Whoops. Whoops. I want to separate this from the columns. I'll show you why. Group, copy, delete, come in here, group. So I might want to do a nonlinear scale. I could bring this down more. I don't know how far I'd want to go with that. 0.5? No. Oh, that's a scale. So 2? Yeah, maybe make that a little bit thicker. Someone said something, I can't remember who was saying it, who said like how to make these more interesting. Sometimes you find if you go in here like this, I'm going to make these unique. Select all instances, make unique, and then I'm going to come in here and then I'm going to rotate this. Watch this. See if I can see if this works. There we go. Sometimes you can like rotate them, and the reason why is because based on the sun's angle, it means you'll have more shade when the sun is at one position, and you'll have more light when the sun's at a different position. So you might want to come in and give that like a 45. Of course, what that did is exposed the fact that I was cheating and just hiding these rather than doing it proper. So
that's okay.
Everyone look away for just a second. Just look away from your screens while I do this part.
Don't look behind the curtain.
Can I hold my hand? If I hold my hand, nope, because the green screen blocks it. So I tell that to my kids. I just say, shh, just close your eyes. Your dad is going to steal some of your french fries. Just look away for a second. Yeah. All right. So I don't know. I mean, I say I don't know, but really like I'm asking myself when I say that. I say, I don't know. I was like, is that working? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, does it technically work? Does it kind of create some shelter? Yes. Does it define the space? Does it create enclosure? Yes. Is it functional? You know, are there different seating options? Yes. So in some ways it's starting to work, but in other ways it's like still needs work. But hey, I'm going to group these. Shift that over. Kind of want a desire line almost like from here through, so you can kind of cut your way through these tables and chairs.
You know, the great thing about SketchUp is that even if it doesn't work, we can go back and we can fix it. We can try again later.
Yeah, we're not, maybe I'll just get rid of that one completely. We're not, yeah, we're not locked into anything. You can see how quick it is. I just, oh, what did I do? Okay, section, there we go. Update. Hang on, styles, select. That was weird. Sometimes my styles don't always remember that my section cuts want to be turned on. Section. These chairs should not be floating. Drop GC. These are not the chairs you're looking for. Okay, so Tyson, you going to come out and join us? Or are you going to sit here and wait for your coffee? Grab your coffee. Come on, man. Okay, got your coffee. So now come on out and pick a seat. Tyson, you're a tall guy. You're a people watching kind of guy. So let's bring you over here. And I asked for Matt's scale figure. I told him I didn't know if I could get Matt and everybody into the shop. But maybe we have to wait. Maybe I just add each stream and just add one more person. And then eventually we're all going to be having coffee together.
Yeah. The collection at the end.
Yeah. So extensions, materials, tools, remove some from selection, grab the transparent black. That is Tyson. She's coming in. She's busy. She's like, I don't have time for coffee. I'm on my way to work. They have really good coffee there. And she's coming in and she's watching. She smells something brewing and she said, that smells good. Yeah, she's like, oh, I've never been to this spot. Oh, we should check out the spot. I heard about the spot. They told me. My friends have told me about the spot. So here's where we're at here. We still got time left. Maybe we still got some time left. So what I'm going to do is we have to make a choice. Do we want to sort of build out the context a little bit more? And then we can start to think about where this coffee shop actually lives. I don't know that I want to go inside yet because I don't know that as a team, we haven't really decided who gets to do the inside. So I don't really want to build out the rest of the interior and then have somebody say, hey, oh, I said I want to do a sandwich board and I want to do some branding.
Yeah.
So let's do that.
So Rachel says, can I give you a tip? If you rotate the stools, move the tables around, it won't look regimented, and suddenly your cafe area and furniture will pop.
Yeah, and that's a trick. That's a good comment. I think of that kind of stuff when I'm rendering. So like before I would go to render, I would go and you can do something like this and go extensions, Chris Fulmer tools, rotate randomly. So I don't want to scale it. I want to make sure that the scale is set to 1 and 1, but I might do a minimum rotation of 2 and a maximum rotation of 8. And you can see that was subtle. It just went, each one of them just went a little bit like that. So good comment. Just bring in a little bit of that real world messiness where people are always just kind of moving things around and shifting things around. So let's do this. Let's do a sandwich board sign. I'm going to do this as 3 feet, 2 foot. I think that's going to work. 2 inches. Nope. Let's go 1 inch just to make that thinner. I don't really name my components unless I know that I think I'm going to need to find it later. 60. Okay. A sandwich board. Excuse me, miss. If you could go order your coffee, why don't you go get in line? Because it's getting busy. It's 8 o'clock. It's coffee rush hour. And then I'm going
Keggy says there's 2 Tysons now, which is a scary thought.
There's 2 Tysons? Oh, that is scary. Ooh, wait, where's the other? Oh, there he is. All right, that one's going to go because you're right. We don't need 2 Tysons. 1 is enough. Tyson and Heather, finish your conversation, finish your coffee, and don't look too closely at what I'm doing because it makes me nervous when I have an audience. Okay, what are we doing here? Sandwich board. We need somewhere for it to sit, so I might go up something like 3 inches. Again, when I'm in the smaller numbers, that's when I tend to use the inches because it's more intuitive for me. But when I work on big stuff, meters are usually pretty easy because I don't really always think about millimeters. Like how many millimeters would that be? That's where my brain stops working.
Ahmed says maybe we just need to put the coffee shop name somewhere outside.
That's what we're gonna do. Yep. Who was that? That was commenting.
Ahmad.
Okay.
I may be saying that right. Ahmad.
Yep. We will put the name on the building and we will put it on a sandwich board because you always want to let people know more than one way, depending on where they're coming from. They may or may not see it. So we'll give them some options. This will be a fun little exercise to do here. I'm going to group that. I'm going to grab my same black color. So again, you can see I'm not worrying about materials so much other than that I just grab like contrasting colors. So what is wood? There's 2 woods, light wood, brown and dark wood, like one for the decking, one for the plywood. And then like, for example, I'm going to do the sandwich board. So I just need something more metal for the base. Ooh, I need to explode that, because I grouped it before I realized that I was missing a little slice on the end. Okay, so that's grouped. This is grouped. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to make this out of wood. Maybe offset this by 2 inches, not 2 meters. Or 1 or 2? Oh, let's go 1. 1? Is that what you're thinking, Donovan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. We're in the same spot. Hey, literally, we're in the same spot. So check this out. I had this idea, and I'm going to see if this works. I'm going to grab, Aaron actually did kind of a cool thing, and he took the branding from the coffee bar. So if I come over here, and he took this sort of branding from the actual geometry, and I don't know, I missed that part of the stream. I'm guessing he just either screenshotted it or exported it as a JPEG. And then he brought that in as a 2D texture. Whoops, I'm in a wall. Get out of the wall. So there it is, and he kind of used it as the logo on the cup. So I'm just going to steal, since he's already done that work, let's not redo it. Let's borrow from him. Oops. There we go. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to paste that in right here. I copied it. And then it's all messed up, but that's because I think he must have set it as a projected texture because he wanted it to go around the cup. So I'm going to undo that. And then I get a repeated texture, which is not exactly what I want. So I'm going to go position. And in this case, I want to be careful not to rotate because it's already kind of in alignment. So I want to just get this nice and big. I have to kind of decide because I do like the vertical lines, so I don't want to lose those. That is kind of the design. Now here's where we get to make a decision. Now, the quick way to do this is to stop there and say there. Now, another way to do this would be to say, well, listen, this logo is long rather than tall, the way that Aaron did it, and it repeats. So I could cut the logo off and then grab the wood material, but then I thought, why have this big sandwich board? But then you have this like narrow horizontal logo. So what if instead we cut this into thirds? And then we position, let me see, we reposition just this piece of the texture. Just shift it over. Just shift it over. We have to be careful though, because right here you can see, if you zoom in right here, it repeats. So you have a double module of the texture. So in this case, I can't actually go further. So I have to stop it right there. Problem is that it doesn't help me because now I have the spot at an angle. Maybe that's a cool graphic design thing. Maybe not. Let's try that again. Texture, position. Let's be careful. I just want to slide on the horizontal. I'm not trying not to go vertical with this because I might lose my, that needs to go there. And I'm left with a little leftover, which I'm just going to fake. Well, that's not perfect. I didn't do a great job of that, so I'm going to try this again and just shift it over just like that. So what do you think? Did that work? Oh, that one didn't work either, because you can see that I left that double module over there. So texture, position, see what happens if I move that over there. Yeah, that, oh no,
Almost.
I know, I didn't give myself enough. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do.
Just make the whole thing bigger?
No, I'm just literally gonna just move it one more time. Yeah, that was not how I wanted to do it. So look, if I turn off, I basically took one image and split it into 3, and maybe that was more work than going into Photoshop and fixing it, but hey, we're just trying it. We're just trying things here. So that's kind of what I wanted. So now what I want to do is hide these. Okay, hide those lines so it looks to be, hopefully, at least from a distance, one image. Yeah, does that work?
That works.
All right, cool. We got approval. Got approval from my boss, design boss, Donovan. Design boss. It's a new show starting on the SketchUp channel. Design boss. Donovan tells
That's what I'm here for.
Tells you what'll work and what will not work. So that's the sandwich board. I think I missed an edge there. There we go. So spot Café. Where would where's a good spot to put the spot sign?
Oh,
right there on the corner.
Yeah.
Would you see it? You'd want to see it when you're coming.
Well,
this way.
You'd see it from that angle.
I guess maybe you wouldn't. Yeah. I was gonna say you could have more than one. You could put one here, and then you can put one here. Maybe that's too many. I don't know. I don't know how many is too many. How many sandwich boards is too many? Sandwich board signs.
I think if you had 2, that'd be sufficient. That'd be good.
All right.
In terms of total made upness.
We're gonna go with 2. We're gonna go with 2.
2 is great.
All right. So save. Don't forget to save. Now let's do a blade sign. So a blade sign is gonna be Oh, hang on. I did not put these trees on a tag, which I want to. So I'm going to come over here and put them on a tree tag. And the reason why is because sometimes I just want to turn my trees off. Trees. Whoops. Thought I had that one. There we go. Sometimes I just want to see it without my trees. And then I can just turn them back on. Go bing, 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 bing. Oh, don't do that too many times fast. Man, so how does this look like in plan view? Yeah, kind of works. Looks kind of weird because I only have the corner. So if you wanted to, like, obviously if we wanted to sort of extend the street, you'd pull this and you would just pull this out further, and we would just go something like however many meters that would be, 10 meters, or just bring that out another 6 meters or something like that. And then same thing with the score lines. If we wanted to continue those, bring that out times 3 times 4. Now the question
Peggy
is,
says the sandwich board nearest the building is a trip hazard.
yeah, that one is kind of blocking your path, isn't it? Fine, fine, fine. Okay, so then we have this sort of front view. How's that looking? Looking kind of cool. I don't know why I pushed that thicker than 6 inches, because then it will. So let's look at that front view. Just kind of see how it's coming along. Push that up 6 inches. Nope, the other way. Up 6 inches. I don't want that sticking out. That's the floor. That's the foundation of the building, which may be different. There we go. Looks kind of cool. We could soften this a little bit. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it. We could put a little wood seat wall right here so people could sit, but then you'd be staring at the backs of people's heads. So these are like these questions where it's like, I don't really know. But let's go ahead and make something that's going to be what I think could be like a park or something. That's going to be sort of, this is like an urban park area. So we're going to kind of just splice this up a little bit. And we're going to kind of go from there. We're going to kind of just round this out a little bit with something cool here. And then we're going to call it. I did the same. Oh no, I said we were going to do a blade sign. I do that. I bounce around a lot because I feel like there's so many different things that I want to do. We do need a blade sign, which should be fairly quick because we can literally just take this here, and we can come in here and just grab that. Probably paste that in place. Thing is, those now we need it on 2 sides. So what does a blade sign look like? Is that what you call it? Is that what, folks, would we call this a blade sign? Okay. I know I can't hear the people in the chat, which I kind of wish I did. I wish we could. I don't know, that'd be really annoying, but it'd also be kind of cool. Like, you know how like gamers, like streamers, sometimes will like live stream, they'll play a game and then you could hear like all the other people playing. Like I said, it would be both really cool and really annoying. Have you ever done that, Donovan? Do you go online and and stream with people?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Rainey
know.
says maybe some planters hanging from the frame.
Oh.
Or some planter's shelf as a semi-partition.
That's a good idea. Whoa,
A sliding fabric cover shade for the frame, maybe.
Yeah, let me finish this here, this thought, and then we can think about where I want to go next with it. I'm going to come up. Is that lined up? It is. 2 inches. Don't need that one. I just kind of want to give the impression that it's being mounted. And then I want to grab this and go 90 degrees with it. This is where it not being double-sided is going to show. So we're going to need to figure out, that one.
Somebody says, the magic of hanging sign that will deflag gravity.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, why is it? Hang on, give me a second. I forget that I can just grab that. I want to figure out where the midpoint is here, and I don't want to use inferencing. So I'm just going to create a guideline for right now. And now I can use inference locking, and I can find the midpoint of that line right there. Just delete that line. All right, so now what we need to do is we could do two things. I think what we're going to do is we're going to select all on the same material. We're going to group it. We're going to rotate it 180 degrees. Whoa, we don't want to do that. We want to rotate it from the midpoint. I mean, it was grouped, so it could be okay. If you're ever having trouble rotating stuff, it's probably because, or like getting things to line up, it's probably because you're just like me, you're just doing it from too far away. You've got to zoom in. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. Speaking of too far away. Does that feel? Maybe we don't need that one. Maybe we don't need that one because we got the spot.
Yeah, I got the two there.
Yeah, and we've got this one here. So this one kind of lets people know. I'm just trying to think of like, if I was to take a camera angle of this, do you know, like if we were to capture something that kind of starts to tell the story of what we're doing here, what is it that is starting to do that fairly well? This is a good time to look at the tree spacing, because in this case, a tree can be your friend in that it softens something and blocks something, or the tree can be the problem, which is like, whoa, actually no, that's like you're covering up those blade signs. So then you'd have to like either change the camera angle and sort of avoid the tree, or in this case, because we're playing creator, we could also just shift this over and decide, that we want the trees to start a little bit further back. And then that way, when you get this sort of camera, you get this kind of corner angle. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Well, I'm going to just kind of round this out. We're almost out of time. I'm just going to kind of take this here, copy it, get rid of that, paste it, go with 180 degrees, nope, 90 degrees. Bring that here, bring that up 18 inches. Oh, I just had an idea.
What's that?
That'd be kind of cool. Was that from Dumb and Dumber? Do you remember when he's like, I just had an idea, and then he's like, Jim Carrey's character like sits and thinks for a second, and he goes, "Yep, I had an idea," because he like.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie, so it could be in there.
I think that's from Dumb and Dumber. Okay. Yeah, it's funny. Of course, you need Jim Carrey's delivery, but I think Jim Carrey just celebrated his 60th birthday. Did you get that? Did you see the article?
Yeah, I think I saw a picture.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I just remember it didn't seem that long ago when Ace Ventura came out.
I know. One of my friends just posted that Will Wheaton is now the same age that Picard was in The Next Generation. And I was like, don't give me an existential crisis right now. Thank you.
Select all instances. We're going to move them up. I'm going to kind of copy the style that we've set up. I'm going to do this as a bench. So this sort of like industrial piping look that we did for the bar. And I'm just going to kind of carry that over. So I want to make these unique though, because I'm going to have to modify them. So I know you don't usually see the underside of the bench, but let's do this proper. Sometimes I forget, like when you have nested components, and if you make something unique, it makes the outer one unique. But then if you have a nested one inside, that one's not unique. And then you go to edit that one, and then you accidentally edited everything. So you got to be careful about making sure that that you're making, you may have to go multiple levels down with making things unique. It's a little narrow. You may want to come out a little bit. And also, my is that a coupling? What do you call that thing? I can't remember. The thing you put over the top, like to hide the screws or your mounts or to clean up around the joint. It's not a coupling. Coping. That's not a coping. That's something else. So, Donovan, what do you want to do? We can make some. We can grab some brick, and we can grab a piece of brick. So what's that? I don't want that. I want the brick. What happens if we put some brick pavers down? Trying to carry the theme a little bit over, which is, in fact, I may not need that at all. And I may instead apply a paver, like, like permeable pavers or, something cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You get it.
I get it. CJ says flange.
Flange. I don't know. So I asked you guys. The cool thing about pavers is they don't have to follow the same proportions or dimensions that the bricks do. So if I did want to just cheat that and scale it, I could probably do that. Yeah. I'm going to finish this off by creating the start of what could be a park. So 1 meter high. I'm just going to kind of create a little grass area here. If you've ever been to like Tanner Springs in Portland, Oregon, they've got it's kind of all on a slope. So people when it's sunny, they could kind of find a spot and just you can see because the park kind of slopes down away from them. It kind of makes for a cool people watching spot. What is there to do here?
And this is looking more real and real all the time.
Yeah, I could bring some of these out. Now these are not covered. Obviously, there's not covered seating here, but that's okay.
All-weather fabric. We'll just say that. All-weather material.
All-weather material. Yeah, that's true. But then again, if you have those here, then you probably wouldn't need a bench there. So I may want to just hide that. I like the idea. I like the idea of having some options. These little seating groups. Make a component out of that. That way, if I rearranged one, and then maybe do this, get rid of that and get rid of that. Come over here. Maybe let these 4 share a coffee table, little seating group here. Maybe space them out a little bit further. All right, now let's get some people. Let's put some people in this because it's starting to come together. We still have sort of the rest of the park to do. We have the interior to finish, or we can call it, depending on what our goals to do next. Let's ask some questions to the chat before we wrap up. I know we don't have a poll, so we don't have sort of formal way to get your response. Do you know how to do a poll, Donovan?
Let me see.
YouTube. It'd be for YouTube. So if you're on LinkedIn, you just have to enter a comment into the chat, or if you're on Facebook, you can just comment. But I'd be curious, as I wrap up here over the next few minutes before we kind of close out, I'd like to know, what do you want to see? Where do you want to see this going? We are nearing the end of a coffee shop, but we have a few different directions. Just because we're done with design stage, right? And that's the SketchUp part, that's the 3D modeling part. It doesn't mean that we're done in communicating our design idea. So whether we go to layout with this and document, at least high level, whether it's a concept design package, a costing package, even pulling out some of these elements that we designed and did something like a fabrication, like a shop drawing of how to build it. That's layout. And then of course there's rendering, whether that's Enscape with real-time rendering or that's V-Ray with something that's a little bit more photorealistic. Or SketchUp to Photoshop, which is that non-photorealistic rendering. So I'm going to leave Tyson's chairs inside because we haven't figured out what we're going to do inside. Aaron did just the coffee bar, but we haven't really figured out. I was like, oh, do I want to do anything? And I was like, no, I shouldn't do anything. So I'm going to have to remove that shelving that I did. I was just like, how can we take Aaron's idea and how can we pull that out and let that inform the rest of the space? Ooh,
so a couple of people are asking if we could try a diffusion render, one for layout, one for V-Ray.
Okay.
Ooh, two for layout.
I'm gonna go window.
Another for diffusion.
So speaking of doing everything from scratch, while you're doing the poll here, I am going to. This is a little bit more complex. I would like to look for like a hanging basket of flowers and see if I could find something to hang from the trellis. I have to be careful. Like already this hanging basket one has 21,000 polygons. If I'm going to render, again, I want that level of detail. If not, I want to kind of be careful. This one is 2,000 polygons. That's much lower, but sometimes when you see something that looks detailed and isn't, it's because they're using a photo texture. So you got to be careful there, not to spend too much time. Let's go back. There we go. So, finding something, this is pretty low poly. It's got 487. What was this one here? Ooh, 13,000. Let's try and avoid bloating things too quickly. Really, it's more just for color. It's more for just like, whoa, that's cool. It's more like I just want to test it, So I don't want to bring something in that I'm going to spend a lot of time on when I'm not quite sure that this is a direction that I want to go.
Seems to be kind of a 50-50 split between V-Ray and diffusion being the next step.
Well, you know what? We could do both. We could actually do V-Ray versus diffusion. Of course, we already know diffusion's going to win on the time as far as how long it took to do it. But the question is does it get you the result that you want? So that could be something to think about. Tool palettes, components, outdoor furniture. Do I have a street lamp already in my collection, or should I? That might be something that we have to do, that I have to add after the stream, which is, I don't think I have a street lamp. Yeah, if I was smart, I would have put together some of the stuff. I would have had a file with a few things already put in it. I don't know, what do you think about hanging baskets? I think they're not the right scale, so I think they need to be large. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right, Donovan.
That's looking good.
You want to close us out here today? Let me just grab Tyson. You got your coffee, so you and Heather, you just walked by, didn't realize that Heather was having coffee, and you wanted to stop by and say hey. I like to come up with little stories with the scale figures, and I get to I don't know, it helps me to give them a little life and be like, oh, she's running late, so that's why she's taking such long strides.
That works.
So 2D people. Yep. And then this guy just got his coffee, so he's coming out. So we're not done. So whoever's going to work on this next, whoever's going to take the next piece, they're probably going to say, Eric, you added too much junk to it. You dunked it up. But
is your skill figure in there?
It isn't. So if I create a new file, I'm not in there. But if I go File New from Template, and go to My Templates, I think I replaced myself. I think I used to have one where I was my own skill. I was my own default template. I don't have that anymore.
You've been replaced in your own template.
I replaced myself. I know. I replaced myself. Okay, I'm going to get a view here. I'm going to line up. I'm going to find a view. I'm going to go Camera, 2-point perspective. And then I'm going to move Tyson over. And he's going to chit-chat. And you guys are at the spot. We're all here. We all made it. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up. Donovan, any closing announcements or anything else from the chat? Last minute comments that we want to relay? Or do we want to just call it a few minutes early?
Just a reminder, tickets are on sale. 4 dimensions. Please come out, hang out with us. It's going to be fun. I can guarantee you it's going to be informative. It's going to be fun. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to have a great time. And we're all going to be there too. Everybody is. So come hang out with us. Come to Dimensions. It'll be a good time. So, a lot of people in the comments chiming up saying thank you. Another great one, Eric.
All right. I'm going to call it then. I'm going to call it, so let me go back to my 2-point perspective because I like to finish things. I like to formalize things. You line up with the eye level. Always put your eye level with the horizon and camera 2-point perspective, and then adjust. Don't orbit, but you can go pan horizontal or vertical. So we did it. We created a Sidewalk Cafe seating area. We've got shelter. We've got signage and wayfinding. We've got a variety of seating types incorporating both the design elements from Aaron's coffee bar and materiality that he established earlier, and with the chairs that Tyson built from scratch. And so it is starting to come together, and I'm really excited. So I want to stop there and say thank you all. Of course, we couldn't do any of this without you watching. So if you're watching this live, thanks for joining us. If you're watching us after the fact, obviously, still feel free to comment. This will stay up on YouTube afterwards. And I'm really excited to sort of take the next piece of this. Again, not the next part of this modeling process, the next piece that we would sort of approach from a design perspective and see where it goes. So I guess that's it.
All part of the process.
That's it. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready to put some music on. You ready to go put some music on and celebrate and go get some coffee?
Sounds good. We can do that.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Okay. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next time. If you're not subscribed, one last reminder, subscribe. Make sure you get those notifications, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.